Hello, everyone. So we are going to go through a few extra equations with fractions in them, just because it looks a little intimidating at first, but once we get our procedure down, I think it becomes a lot easier. So the assignment or your work is very easy. We have 6 problems here. I'm going to do the odds, so 1, 3, 5. So you're simply just taking notes, writing those down, and then you're going to do the 2, 4, 6 on your own. So each even number is similar to the one right next to it. So for example, number 2 is very similar to number 1. So once we do number 1, together and you take notes on that, you should be able to do number 2 on your own. And so just have all 6 on a single page, and then you're going to submit that. So just keep it all on a single page, number each, be neat, etc. Let's get started with number 1. So remember, with these rational equations, when I have x in the bottom, we always have to ask ourselves, what value of x can't I have? So what makes me divide by 0? So remember, if it's just x down below, like this one right here, well, x can't be 0, right? So 4 divided by 0, whatever makes me divide by 0 is not going to work. And even if it just, if I put a 3 in front, 3 times 0 is still 0, right? So if I said 3x equal to 0, we know dividing by 3, we still get 0, right? 0 divided by 3. So x cannot be 0 if we have just a single monomial with x in it, even if there's a number in front. Okay, so always identify what value of x we can't have. That'll become more important later on, as we'll see. But so the way we deal with monomials, so just a single term in each of the denominators, is look at the numbers and the variables separately. Okay, so if I look at the numbers here, 3 times 5, what is my LCD? So the LCD is 15, right? And then remember, with variables, we just choose the higher power. So we don't really have a higher power. These are both 1. So we'll just take 1. So my LCD here will be 15, and then the x. So look at the numbers and the variables. So we multiply every term by the 15x. So 15x, 15x, 15x. Okay, so when you do this, the only goal is to get rid of the denominators, get rid of the fractions. If we get rid of all the denominators, we did it correctly. So let's go. I'll do this in different color to help visualize. So here the x's are going to cancel. Right, so we're left with 15, remember multiplication, so 15 times 4 is 60. Keep the sign, there's a minus there. Okay, here the x's cancel, right, so those go away, and then we have 15 divided by 3, and 3 goes into 15 5 times, right? Okay, so we're left with 5 times 5, which is 25, equals, okay, and then here 15 divided by 5 is 3. Okay, so we're left with 3x and then 3. So 3x times 3, or just 3 times 3 is 9 with the x, so 9x. So just multiply everything that's left together. And you'll notice denominator fractions gone. Okay, so 60 minus 25 is going to give me 35. Okay, so if I want to get x by itself, we can divide both sides by 9. So you can give this as a decimal. I'm going to leave it as a fraction just to get that practice. So we type this in our calculator. How do I reduce this fraction? Okay, so I type it in and go to math fraction, 35 over 9, click on math, first one fraction, just click enter. It actually doesn't simplify. Okay, so this one would just be my final answer, so 35 over 9. Sometimes you might be able to simplify, but like it was 45 over 9, that would just be 5 as your answer, right? But simplify when you can. If not, that's fine. If you want a decimal, just this will be equal to about 3.8 repeating, but we can just leave it as a fraction. That's fine. I think number 2 will work out more nicely for you. So you should get a whole number, but if you get a fraction, simplify it. You could leave it as your answer. I think you get a whole number though. All right, moving on to number 3. Okay, so with binomials, we have to make sure none of them are equal to 0. So we have an x plus 5 here. Okay, so if I say the x plus 5 can't be equal to 0, right, so I can subtract 5. So the x can't be equal to negative 5. And that makes sense, right? Because 5, if this was negative 5, 5 minus 5 is 0, or negative 5 plus 5 is 0. And then here, if you set this equal to 0, well, 2 minus 2 is 0, right? So x cannot also be 2. Okay, so these are the values we can't have. Okay, so set them both equal to 0. Here you just add the 2. Okay, so x cannot be 2. All right, so if we want to cancel denominators, we have an x plus 5 here and x minus 2. It looks like we could factor this. So if I factor this here, signs are different. So x times x, plus and minus. So I think 5 and 2 are the factors that give me 3 here. So 5 minus 2 is 3. Okay, so my LCD here, well, we have the x plus 5, right? That repeats. And then we have x minus 2, and that also repeats. So remember, take each factor, right? We need, just give each one what it's missing. So our LCD is x plus 5, x minus 2. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to multiply. Give yourself some room. You don't want to squeeze it in too much. It's going to look intimidating, but we're just giving it each one x plus 5, x minus 2. Okay, so it looks like a lot, but the purpose of doing this is it'll cancel. So a lot of this is just going to be crossed out. So let's see what crosses out here. So with the first one, the x plus 5 goes away. Okay, so we're left with 2 and then the x minus 2. Right? I'm just going to write whatever's left. We'll distribute that later. Here, the x minus 2 goes away. So we're left with here, right? 3x plus 5. X plus 5. And then here, both, this is actually easier. It looks hardest, but the x plus 5 goes away and the x minus 2 goes away, right? Okay, so all we're left with here is 31, right? Okay, so that actually works out nicely on the right-hand side. Okay, so factor and our goal is met. We got rid of all the denominators. Okay, let's finish this off so we can distribute here. So this will give me what, 2x minus 4 plus 3x plus 15. Okay, so I asked myself, what like terms do I have to combine? So 2x plus a 3x will give me a 5x. And we have 15 minus 4, which is 11, right? So positive 11. All right. Okay, so now it's a regular equation we could solve. So I can subtract 11 from both sides. So I get 5x is equal to 20. So I can divide by 5, and it looks like my answer will be equal to 4. Okay, but before I circle it, I have to always go back and check. So we said x can't be equal to -5 and x can't be 2. So we didn't get either if I got 2 or -5, this would be an issue, but we didn't get 2 or -5, so we are all set. So that would be my solution. And you could go back and plug it in if you check, but it looks like it's not our excluded value, so we'll check that off as our answer. Okay, so try number 4 as well. It's very similar, so you could factor this one, so it should be obvious what you're multiplying by, and you should get rid of all those denominators and get something similar to this one. Okay, let's do the last one here, so number 5, and then that'll be it. Okay, so let's factor first, right? Because it looks like this is like a factor. Let's make sure everything's factored first, and then we could see what to exclude. So this one I could take out a 2, and we're left with y minus 3. Okay, so it looks like the only variable having the denominator here is the y minus 3. Okay, so we know that this can't be 0, so it should be obvious what y can't be, because, well, 3 minus 3 is 0, right? But to get that, we can add 3, so y can't be equal to 3. Okay, so that's our excluded value, because remember, well, 3 minus 3 is 0, and then 3 minus 3 is 0, so 2 times 0. I can't have 0, right? So just sort of the opposite when I set it equal to 0, so positive 3. Okay, so now let's go ahead and solve this. So my LCD here. Okay, so remember, look at each factor separately. So look at the numbers, look at the y's, look at each binomial. So if I look at the numbers here, we have a 2 and a 5. So I'll make sure everything's underlined here. Okay, so if I ask myself, what is the LCD of 2 and 5? Okay, so the LCD is 10 there, right? So LCD, I'm going to use 10. Okay, then we also have the y minus 3, and it repeats, right? So add on a y minus 3. Okay, so this is my LCD. So we're going to want to multiply everything by 10 y minus 3. So I'm going to do 10 y minus 3, 10 y minus 3, 10 y minus 3. Okay, definitely give yourself some room here. I kind of squeezed it in. I'm doing the colors, so that'll help me. But in your notebook, if you're just doing pencil, just make sure to give yourself room to write the 10 y minus 3, so it's not all bunched together. Okay, so first one, the y minus 3 cancels, so that works out nicely. But we also have 10 divided by 2. Right, so cancel everything in the bottom. So the 2 and the 10, so 10 divided by 2 is 5. So we're left with here the 5 and the y, right? So 5y. Okay, keep the sign. Okay, so here the y minus 3 cancels. Okay, so we're left with just 1 times 10, which is just 10. equals, and you can see how much nicer it already looks once you get rid of the denominators. So it looks confusing at first, but once you cancel things, most of it goes away. So it looks like the only thing that I could cancel here is the 10 divided by 5, which is 2. Right? Okay, so if I cancel that, we're left with 3 times 2, which is 6. And then the y minus 3. So on the right side, the y minus 3 doesn't cancel, right? Remember here, the y minus 3 got away here. So all those y's went away. So the right side, not as nice, but still okay. Okay, so to finish this off, we can distribute the 6, right? Parentheses first. So I'm just going to keep that. That doesn't change. Okay, so this becomes 6y. And 6 times 3 is 18. So minus 18. Okay, so we need to bring all the y's to the same side since there are y's on each side. So between the 5y and the 6y, the 5 is smaller. So bring the 5y over to the 6y. Okay, so on the left, I have negative 10. 5y minus 6y is just y, or 1y, right? 5 minus 6 minus 5 is 1. Okay, and then I need to get, well, the y is already by itself. There's no number in front. So to get this completely by itself, just get rid of the minus 18. So I could add 18. Okay, that goes away. So it looks like we have y is equal to 8, right? 18 minus 10. Okay, before I circle it, we said y can't be 3. So that was our only excluded value. So 3 minus 3 gives us 0. But if I have 8, well, 8 minus 3 is 5 here. 2 times 5 is 10. So we could have 5 down below. So this is fine. As long as I don't get 3, we are all set. Okay, so try the same thing with number 6. You could factor this first, looks like, and then do your numbers. And then looks like, I think that binomial repeats. So multiply everything by that to cancel. So should be, that one should work out to a nice solution as well. Like, I mean, a whole number, not like a weird fraction or anything. All right, so try those and submit that. And that is all.